and welcome back to the channel. Or if you're new here, welcome on board. I am super happy that you found my little creative corner of the internet. Today is a very special episode again because, like a couple of weeks ago, I am extremely excited to tell you that MK Gibson is once again here to talk with me about art and process and progress. And in today's case, we're gonna talk about art as a job. So if that piques your interest, do hit that like and subscribe button because there will be a lot more of these kind of videos, here on the channel. Or alternatively, you can go ahead and check them out over on Patreon because that's where you'll get early access to even more behind the scenes footage. And of course, you'll get a merch drop up to 4 times per year. With all that out of the way, welcome back to another Butcher's Shop. Alright, Gib, welcome back to the podcast. I'm still not sure if I'm going to call it a podcast or a vodcast or whatever we would call this, but welcome back.
Did you say vodcast or something else? How did you say? Okay, because
podcast or vodcast. Vodcast is a word, isn't it?
I swear with your accent, it sounds like you're saying like something naughty. So anyway, it doesn't matter. What am I looking at? Am I seeing some drawing? What are we doing? Also, by the way, thanks for having me back. I'll do this nice polite show thing. Thank you, Sandy. Thanks for having me back. It's great to be here. Hi, everybody. Hope I didn't piss you guys off the last time, except for that one guy. So
never saw this guy on any of my videos again. So I think he really did, come in, drop a comment, and then just leave. But yeah, so okay, I introduced the whole thing as we're gonna talk about art as a job, and I have a million things that I just want to bombard you with because you and I have been working together on several products or several projects, basically. Oh man, I don't even know where to start because art as a job is so different compared to when you just make art for yourself.
Yes.
And it varies from you work with a deadline to you work on something that you don't have the final say over.
Oh yeah.
And everything in between. Sometimes you got to work in styles that are not not exactly your own style. Sometimes you work with subjects that you're not entirely comfortable with. Also, by the way, I do a lot of art and I do this for money as well, but I still have a full-time job, aside from being an artist. So, I mean, there's that I,
It's like you said it to me, like as I didn't know this, but okay, I guess you're saying it to the audience. That's fine.
There's a lot of things that cross my mind when I say art as a job, and you don't have to go through all the examples that I just gave you, or not even in that particular order, but I do want to know, what are your thoughts about art as a job?
Well, okay. Anything as a job is anything as a job. A job is a job is a job is a job. Ideally, you want to find something that you love that you're doing, obviously, because it makes you go by. Some of us aren't as fortunate for that. Some people are stuck in a job that they hate because that's what they got to make ends meet. And we've all been there. For those who are in it right now, I'm sorry. Hopefully you can find a way to either make it good or you can get to a position where you want to be. But when artistic endeavors as a job is both a loving thing and a scary thing because there's no guarantee that's still going to be there. AI aside, you're always in competition with other artists, whether that is art, writing, editing, anything artistic as a job is. Stick with me for a second. I kind of, especially in the writing world, I love when I see these posts from other authors who say, I'm not your competition. We're not in competition with each other. And that's cute. It's nice for them to say that. It's not true. It's not true at all. It is not true at all. Like, especially if you're doing it to get paid. Now, ideally, if someone buys a certain book, if you have a similar book, you're trying to piggyback off of that. If that's the one that's got the hype right now, then you're trying to get your stuff out there to be seen. But art as a job it's different than when you're doing it for yourself, obviously, But ideally, you want to take pride in your job. You want to be good at what you do so that you can get more work. When we were working on that one Kickstarter together, I know we put a lot of hours in, and even hours that we didn't quite build for because we just want to make sure it was good for us because this is our name going on a product or
you don't want anyone to ship out something that you don't stand behind,
right?
But I think we already have a gray area there because sometimes you don't have a say in that. Sometimes you end up with a product that you're not entirely convinced of. but you still got to roll with it.
Yeah, I mean, I've had like, I've done some little writing here and there for various things from anthologies, picked out like it's exactly what I wanted to write, but I know when I do an anthology. But it ended up fine. It was good. Made some good connections that way. And, you're writing under a deadline, so it's not your best work. If you didn't have something already ready to go, then you have to like kind of crank it out real quick. Or, oh goodness gracious. Like we were just, what I wanted to bring up was the art, like horror art, our conversation we had on this.
Don't.
No. And I've been thinking about that because, like, so for the people listening, like, Sandy and I've had some like all personal discussions on the side, about just a whole variety of things about the art world. And there's some times where it's like you can get on your soapbox about what is and is not art all day long. But at the end of the day, if you're doing it for yourself, for not for pay, you can call that art. You can. Art always seems to be happening whenever you want it to be that way. Whenever you want it to be a certain way, you can call that art. But when you're doing something for a job, it's still art at that point? And like, you get into semantics, you get into the emotional, and I was on a little rant.
When it becomes commercial, then it's just a different ballgame. Yeah.
Right. And when I was on a rant saying basically, if you're getting paid for it, you're just a whore. If you do it for free, you're a slut, and, it's not true.
It still hurts.
Yeah, I know it did. And that's the thing. That's what I'm saying right now. Like, I know it's not true. I know it was like, I'm in an old man ranty kind of mode. Cause I'm kind of grumpy with the world, especially the art world and everything else world as it is now. So like, and I don't mean to take that out on you, or people at large, like but I get grumpy about just artists are some of the best and worst people on the planet. I love us. I hate us. We claim to not be gatekeepers, but we gatekeep the fuck out of things constantly.
But then do we, I don't think there's ever been a time where we have seen as much art as we do now, on social platforms where everybody and their mom just post anything they make and call it art.
Sure.
So I don't think there's ever been a time where art has been as monetized as it is right now. As well. So I don't know. I feel like it really impacts the way I enjoy art, while I'm just existing. I find art everywhere. And I sometimes wonder if that's because I am an artist and I try, or I maybe even subconsciously see art in everything that I see. Or if that really is because it is everywhere and we're all sort of trying to make it so obvious that, this is my art and this is there. Like, is that all we are doing as artists now? Are we just promoting our work, or can we also still have fun, making art, being artists? I don't know.
I think it comes down to the human being, really, because I like to think I'm a decent person with a little sense of grounded reality, but I know there are far kinder, nicer people than me who really are like, hey man, all art is great art and all writing is great art, and I'm glad to see everybody and they're very happy and I'm a little more jaded than that. Like, that's crap. I know as a person, like similarly, I could be walking around outside, just looking around, and I'll see something, and I thought I saw something. I look over again, like, was that a human head? No, that's just the way the shadows are playing against this one tree. Cool. But my brain is looking for patterns and cool art everywhere I go. And so I do that. I don't think other people do that unless you are into art. If you're into art and creating, then you're getting inspiration constantly from all around you. So I do think that is like the artist's eye in the world, but that doesn't mean, that's not special. I mean, obviously, like an editor's eye is going to see things a certain way. A writer's eye is going to see things a certain way. An architect is going to see things a certain way. A cop is going to see things a certain way. A doctor will be looking around for a second, we're all going to see through our lens. That's a long way of saying we're going to see through our lens. So you're right in that art is way more monetized right now than it ever has been. There was way more art, but it's also way more monetized. So in a certain way, it's like, cool, more art. But then it's like, does it also go back to what I said? Like, is it like, are we whoring ourselves out, or is he devaluing art, or is it just, is more art good, or is it like, there's no answer. That doesn't have an answer. There only has whoever wants to stand on their soapbox that day and make a speech about it. So,
and I find that very interesting because I don't know if you saw my social post for today. It was a portfolio post, and basically it was.
Oh yeah.
So it was sort of in preparation, or maybe even in response to when we decided to talk about art as a job this episode. And I simply sat down and reviewed my portfolio, updated it, added some of the later projects from last year and this year. And I just looked at that overview, and I couldn't help but kind of feel proud because there are, you and I have done some really freaking cool projects last year. and the year before. You know, we did, again, I'm always coming back to this. We did the illustrated Technomancer. We worked on Imminent Peril, which was a huge project. Not only did we do the card game, we also did the whole brand identity for Crit Harder, which is the studio behind the game. And it was just incredible. And looking at that list, I'm seeing all these amazing things that you and I did, and I sometimes, you know, I also worked on my own, and then realizing that I still have a full-time job next to this. Like, you know, it's 8 hours of work, then I come home, I do 8 more hours of work, and then I sleep for 8 hours, because that's kind of the bare necessity that you need.
No. So I feel your pain there. I was just gonna, like, you know, so ever since I went fully independent with my with my writing, you know, I stopped trying to. It's not that I don't want to pay artists. I also love my own art, so I'm trying to, like, get better at my own art for cover design, and with your help over the last several years, getting better and better and better, to where I feel more confident using my own art as cover design. So I'm doing my own layouts. I'm doing my own, you know, obviously I have some editing help with some, like, you know, people, like my wife's you know, got her master's in English, so she really helps out with the editing and getting things ready to go. But it's like, but other than that, like, I do the layouts myself, I do the writing myself, I do the art myself, the revisions myself, the social posts myself, and I get up around anywhere between 6 and 6:45 every morning, and I have a cup of coffee, I get ready to go, and then I start working. Then I get my family out the door, and I go back to work. And then I take a break, usually to exercise, and then to eat lunch, and then I go back to work. My family gets home right around 5 o'clock, I see them, I go back to work, and then at 6 o'clock, I cook dinner for my family, because I'm the house dad, and you know, it's also somewhere that I do a little bit of, like, housework. Then I go back to work, and I usually stop working somewhere around 9 at night. And that's when I sit down to, like, watch a little bit of TV and power down to for the next hour and a half.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. And I realized when I look back on that, I'm like, but I'm always working, but I never feel like I'm dying, if that makes any sense, you know. I guess because I can bounce around, but, like, the artistic world is like, I'm never not working.
And for me, the funny part in there is, like, when I work on my day job, you know, I have a cool day job. I don't hate what I do. It's not my dream job, but it's a good job. Good job. Anyway, but when I work 8 hours on my day job, it feels completely different than when I work another 8 hours on stuff like this. And people ask me all the time, like, how do you do this? Like, how have you not collapsed? How are you not burned out? And I think the only answer that I have is that art is my sanity. You know, if I don't have the art, I don't think I would survive 8 hours of normal day job every day. This is how I unwind. And sure, there is a form of pressure with this, especially when you work for clients. But I still think that, you know, making art, or just the process of creating something, gives so much energy, more so than, you know, it takes energy. So there's this weird chemistry between, you know, having to work as an artist, but also being able to recharge yourself while being at work.
Oh yeah. When I had a day job, after my time in the military, I was a contractor for a period of time. You know, it was a fancy way. I was a technical reporter for years, so it was like a lot of technical type of writing. Then I'd come home, and I'd jump back into, like, once my wife and son, once the family's good to go and there's no distractions, then I would spend however many hours until I fell asleep fiction writing. And I needed that. I needed that fiction writing to save my sanity, because the world's such, you know, regardless of your political affiliation, the world it just breaks you sometimes when you hear, you know, because he's like, you can find, whether there is or is not tragedy, you can find it. Whether there is or is not sadness, you can find it. There's always something sad, you know, and, like,
it's there looming right over your shoulder.
And, you know, with the world being the way it is, it's like, I need this, because if you want to find, like I said, if you want to find sadness and pain and suffering, it's not that hard. You'll find it very easily. Worst thing is, like, I know the algorithm loves to feed you that, as opposed to, like, sometimes I specifically just want to, like, scroll and see cats playing with dogs, because I need a little bit of break to my human suffering and tragedy. I need a little bit of I need a little joy, I need some kindness. And so art was my, like you, it was like, this is my breakout. This is how I, like, decompress, so I can write fiction, or I can write these things, or I can write the way the world's supposed to be. I can write about characters doing X, Y, and Z and being, you know, heroic, or not seeing, or looking past someone's biases and just being better, but not fucking smug about it. You know, like, I can write the world the way I wish it was, and I could see it. And even if it's a fictionalized dystopian, and I need that. And art brings it out to me, writing brings it out to me. The creative process saves my sanity.
Yeah, just the act of creating, I think. And hearing you talk about this, and that you also had your day job and then come home to basically do another day job, through the arts, it makes me wonder, because so many people, and maybe this is also a cultural thing. I don't know if this is common. I think in America, people tend to have more than one job, like generally. And here in Europe, I think that is far less. But so many people then ask, like, how do you do this? And basically repeat of what I just said. But then I start wondering, if so many people don't have this sort of sanity check when they come home from their day job, what do these people do? Like, how do you? Is it like, are you playing games? Are you maybe reading books? But I can't.
I mean, I wish if I was a normal person, I could probably give you this answer. But I passed normal a long time ago. But for most people, okay, so hustle culture, gig economy, things like that. It depends. Like, really depends on what your age bracket, where you stand, and what you feel, and X, Y, and Z. All that kind of crap is. I'll say this for some people. Doing their job. I mean, it depends. If your job is like, especially a laborious task, by the time you come home, like all you can do is like eat and sit, then, I feel your pain. I've been there. I've done those jobs. I've had those jobs where it's like, I am physically exhausted by the time I get home. That's why I started switching into trying to get into jobs where I didn't have to do that anymore, But sometimes it's like, sometimes it's like have a cocktail or a beer or watch a show or, play on your phone for a little bit. Cause like when like the pattern repeats and you have to do it all again tomorrow, that's kind of like, I'm trying to raise my son. He's like, well, what's the point of doing things if I just got to do it all over again? I'm like, well, you're really killing my buzz as a parent. Cause like there's it is like, like, because I said so, it doesn't quite work anymore because the next generation's a little bit smarter than we were. So I've told him I'm not trying to give you the tools to I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life. I'm trying to give you the tools so you can live your life the best way possible. And, art is one of those things. Like, this is how I live my best life, is by doing art, by writing, by creating, by doing whatever, I have created book covers for other people, and like, it's never as much fun as when I'm doing my own, because, I'm a way harder client to myself than I ever had a hard client like asking me to do certain things.
That's really funny, because I feel like I'm the exact opposite. We may have talked about this somewhere this week and we did not record this, but I think you asked me, like, don't you spend a lot more time on your own book cover? Don't you go all the way because, nobody's paying you for it, but still you put in more work because it's your own. I actually think it doesn't work like that for me. I think my own book cover, I mean, I like it. I think it's a good book cover. But when it's for someone else, especially if it's someone paying me for it, I put in so much more effort than what I make for my own.
I mean, okay, I'm not going to tell people how the sausage is made kind of thing, because, but most artists, and you've got your own business, but most artists, especially the cover creators, are like, they have, this is my price and it comes with this many revisions. After that, we're going to have to renegotiate the contract, because I can't spend all day working on your thing. That said, taking the bonds of blood and silver out of it, because I know that one was a little bit more easy for you to create versus some other projects you've done in the past, because it's more symbolism based versus illustration based. However, do you remember the revisions you and I sat there when we were working on the Singularian stuff? Like, when you're doing the paperbacks for that, because I remember very clearly, and that was well beyond like the normal business hours. So I know what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm gonna respectfully push back a little bit. It just comes down to what the project happens to be, especially if it's something's obviously like what you're working on right now on the screen, way more illustrative based. For this card game, you've been given kind of carte blanche to Cat Blanche, if you will.
Oh, I like that.
No, nice. I know. On how you want to present it, because the person paying you, or once you create this game, trusts your art. They know your process. They know you, and they know they're going to make a good product. So you're kind of given. I mean, they're going to have some notes here and there, but they're ultimately it's 90-10. It seems like at the moment. I mean, it might switch to 70-30 at some point, but it is right now. You've been giving a wide latitude because they trust your process, and that's kind of what we went back earlier, which is, you work very hard at being an artist so that people know what they're getting when they hire you. It's kind of like being like an actor. You don't hire. I'm trying to think of an actor who just does the same thing over and over and over. You're not gonna hire Kevin Hart to get a drama role. And no disrespect to Kevin Hart, but until he bangs out a really hard drama role, you're gonna get Kevin Hart being Kevin Hart, or The Rock's gonna be The Rock, or so forth. Jason Momoa is not gonna be. He's not gonna sit there. You're getting Jason Momoa so he can say, "Dude, bro."
It's so funny because all the examples you just named are examples of people who just got into roles that are completely the other side of what we know them for. Because The Rock was just in the wrestler movie, and Kevin Hart had some serious job in some serious movie, and then Jason Momoa just got the role for some dude bro.
Well, no, no, Jason
Basically all
Momoa has
stuff.
always been a dude, bro. Like, and that's the thing. It's like, well, he's not always. Drogo wasn't a dude, bro, and I didn't watch the Stargate stuff, but
Christ,
like,
he
like
was in
the
Stargate.
Conan movie and other things. I also just watched. Yeah, what was that movie I just watched? It was him and Batista on Prime. He's a cop, he's a Navy SEAL, and someone killed her dad, and they're in Hawaii, and they're gonna go wreak havoc. Oh, I'm trying to remember. The Wrecking Crew. It's not bad. I mean,
Keep in mind though,
it's
here in the
exactly
Netherlands, we just have television, right?
That's fair. Yeah, it's true. I think you just bang rocks together for music.
Exactly.
So yes.
We beat sticks in the dirt.
It's one of those things. Like I was, because like what was you said to me the other day? Like I keep my house at this temperature, and I had to convert it to Celsius. I'm like, that's 56 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm like, and so when you're drawing your picture, and like, you've got wool gloves on, and your bed. I was like,
I wear the mittens.
because that explains why. Because it's so bloody cold.
And they're very comfortable. It is. I think that was actually one of the colder days, and it was still pretty early in the morning, so it was
You
like.
can turn on the heat. You're allowed to
No,
have.
but we try to be economical about it. Usually we turn on the
I'm not saying turn your house into like a rainforest, but bloody hell,
I know. No, it's comfortable. You'd be surprised how productive you get when it's a bit colder.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. It's like the giddiness right before you pass out and die.
When I was still a teacher in a classroom, I always had the windows open, and these kids would hate me for it. Until after like 10, 15 minutes, they acclimatized, and then they were like, they started to be productive because they had to move because it was too damn cold to sit still.
Yeah, they did that to us in the military too. Like they temperature, like so standing outside in the cold or the rain. Like it's like just get used to it. Embrace the suck, I guess.
Oh man, embrace the suck. I remember putting that on a t-shirt of one of the characters that I made for Technomancer. The twins that I never, Teresa and what's the other one?
Caitlin and Teresa.
And I always forget which one is which.
It's fine. I kill one of them all to make it easier.
And I remember we made the character book, like the art of Technomancer, and I remember doing exactly what I'm doing now. Like I literally wrote down which is which, just to remind myself, and then afterwards to remind the reader, who probably have a lot less trouble reminding who's who. But anyway,
I literally have that book in front of me
was
right now.
fun.
It's right by my desk. So yeah.
Oh, you do? What, the art of Technomancer or the actual Technomancer?
The Meet the Cast.
Yeah. Dude, I had so much fun working on that.
With the Abuja Meet the Cast on the front. So
Is it Abuja?
I'm pretty sure it is.
So for the viewers who have no idea what we're talking about, Abuja is a font type, and it's a font that Gib hated in the beginning, and I used it everywhere, and now he's coming to appreciate the font. He's starting.
No, I use it to mock you. Like so. No, when I was working on that cover design for my wife's book that just came out. Like Abuja fits. I'll give it that.
It has some
also
elegance
spelled
to
a budget,
it. Yeah,
so.
it's good.
It does have some. It does have some elegance to it. Like, and that's the other thing is my love of art has like I transitioned from like I playing with like drawing superheroes, or I would do these messy paintings with chalks and pastels, and like experimenting with mixed media, doing inks on top of like
That's
I would
very
draw
expressionist.
that's how I like to do stuff, and then when I got into the digital realm and having to learn all that over, then going from digital realms to graphic design, it was vastly different too, because it's like telling a young artist, even an old artist who likes stuff now, like if you want to get really good, you can't just play with what you like. I'm trying to teach this to my son who's really into art right now. He's going to school for art, and he's like in his high school, he's doing graphic design and game design and animation, and I'm trying to teach him I know you want to do your own thing. I know you want to play with how you want to play, but if you don't learn these basics or learn these elements of graphic design and some of the laws and the rules and the mechanics and the mathematics behind it, you're going to it's just someone else is going to pass you by very quickly. And getting that through people's understanding it yourself and internalizing it, ultimately comes down to just having to say I was wrong, and you have to no one wants to admit that.
I wonder if design has more rules to it than art, though. I mean, sure, there are rules in art. There composition rules, color rules.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, there's rules in writing, obviously. It's like anything. It's like anything. To break the rules, you have to know the rules. And there are some authors who are really, really good at they know the rules so well they can break the rules. And the same thing with certain artists. The comic world, which was my first real dive into the world of art. There's some artists out there who are phenomenal at they know the rules of proportion so well that they know how to break it in such a way that everything's still believable in world or as you're looking at it in context.
But that's just stuff being stylized.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's just you could go ahead, draw a bobblehead. Just draw it. Good luck. because if you don't know actually how the proportions work, you're going to do it wrong and it's going to look like a mutant. And so like even with a Funko Pop type thing, you have to know what works and why it works in order to make.
But I mean, it's the same with these cats.
Yes.
You know, I mean, basically,
Yes.
I'm trying to apply human anatomy on an animal, and sticking with that for a second, you remember the hands.
The hands. I was just going to bring that up.
How the hands were going to be.
Yep.
Yeah, and at the beginning of this video, you saw this moment where I had this big red circle, because, and I don't know if you saw that.
I saw it swing by. Like it was all to remind myself to talk about it. And then we kept on going.
And I wanted to touch on that as well, because at first I had the hand. So for the viewers, the left hand. So for the cat, the right hand. I had it twisted down because that would basically be the correct anatomy of a cat. You know, a cat arm or a cat hand would never go palm up. It's like physically impossible. So I figured I'd draw him with the palms down as if he's just jumping up, like, you know, like this weird playing cat. This is how cats jump up, basically. And you said, well, you might want to switch one of these hands upwards so that it's like he's playing with the balls of yarn. And the big red circle came from me redrawing the hand over on top of the sketch, and then I put the thumb on the wrong side of the hand. And that has been staring at me for a very long time before I realized the thumb was on the wrong side. And I was beating my head against the wall. Like, how can I not see this? Like, what's happening here?
Well, it's one of those, like, because like, yeah, like you have to know the rules, you break the rules, and like we get in our own way sometimes. But like it's like I'll show you something I'm working on, and in my head I'm like I can't figure out where to go from here. You like do this. I'm like, oh well, shit, there it is. And the same thing, I'm looking at this like it makes more sense for like this anthropomorphic cat, this humanoid cat doing cat human things, to have a different way of his hand holding. So like a palm up, or even if both palms are kind of facing the audience in a kind of like gestury kind of thing, makes more sense than like sticking to the format of like the cat's paws always have to be in a certain way because that's what their elbows and because they don't really have a ball and socket joint, you know, for their shoulders the way we do. So, but this creature on the screen does have a ball and socket joint for his shoulder, so the arms can turn.
Yeah, but where do you draw the line? Because I mean, instinctively, I drew it with the correct anatomy, and then I needed some, you know, peer feedback.
Well, I mean, it's that's what we have to do, like where we study the things that came before us, like, you know, certain animations and animators, you know, like you study some of the old classic, what they call, was it the 6 old men, the 9 old men? Oh, bloody hell! In Disney, way back when there was a term used for these certain animators. They were like the godfathers of animation. They were still at Disney. They're teaching the next generation of Disney animators how to animate, and it wasn't just like how to do things. It's like it's the stuff that like it's to take it to the next level, which was how do you do a half-filled water balloon? How do you to show us that it has weight and it feels real? So same thing with here. Like when is it too far? When it feels too far. When you're looking at the screen, like this doesn't work, and why is it not working? So,
and I think that's something very cool about art, because it's so subjective. It really is about feeling. How does this feel? And you can't standardize that. You cannot say, now it's correct.
Like even the little things are on the screen right now. Like when you got to the string, like the little string at the end, like the balls are fine, but like that little string on the end, the little color and the little light, and they give like there's like depth of that string as it goes from dark to light along the thing. Like I am just watching it happen. It happens so fast on the screen because it's in fast forward mode, but. Dude, it was really cool just to see that come to life, and there's like little things like you might take for granted, but someone else is like, how the fuck did you do that? They gotta slow that down and we'll play it back again.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, it's details that make something come alive, and yeah, it's in case of the yarn here, it's not something that I consciously thought about. I just thought it's not a flat line, so you need to give it light and dark, and then ta-da! You know, usually that's what makes something look a little bit more 3D. So it's all feeling. It's most of this stuff is so instinctive. We took quite a detour here again. We did also talk about art as a job, but as always,
we did talk about art as a job. I mean, ultimately, like it's if you're lucky enough to do art as a job, then hang on to it because you know, like, and do the best you can, obviously, you know. But always say yes to opportunities, or even if you're not doing art as a job, and you want to try. You know, there's nothing worse than just trying. You know, like if you don't know where to start, you can always start on Fiverr. You can always start other places. You can portfolios. You can just put your art out there and see what happens. I've seen some amazing artists do some amazing things, and they come out of nowhere. Some of them start as fan art and they get hired as a job. So once you are paid to do a certain thing and you have a client and they have a deadline, then you have to work within those deadlines and those skills. And so you don't have all day to like, sometimes the deadlines are helpful. Like if I had a deadline for writing, then I'm going to
I love deadlines. Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly, I hate to say it, I do. I say that I don't, but it's a lie. I love working under pressure because it forces creativity to happen because I don't have time to lollygag. And that's kind of like, ironically, I think I wrote more prolifically. I wrote more. I wrote more when I had a day job because
the time that you spend on it matters.
Yes. When things are really open-ended, I can really make excuses for like, I'll work on this cover for a while, or I'll work on this layout instead, then I'll write this next chapter and over here.
Dilly-dallying your way through.
That's what the ADD brain does.
Yeah. Deadlines for me are not because of the pressure. It's more of the, after that, I know I can just let it be. It's really just ticking it off my list. And that's like my sort of ADD, ADHD, whatever sort of brain. If I put it on a list, I want to be able to stripe it off the list. And deadlines are really helpful with that because I know that after that date, I do not have to exhaust my brain thinking about that specific thing anymore.
It's true. I'm trying to teach that to my son right now about his schoolwork, and it's, I'm really bad at it myself unless I have a deadline. But since I work for myself, I really don't have deadlines. So I have I have loose deadlines, very loose deadlines.
We should do a full episode on deadlines next time.
Oh God, no! I don't know. I don't know if the audience wants to hear like the audible sound of my asshole puckering. Like, nope, I don't like that. So
we'll come up with something interesting though. But for now, thanks so much for joining me again.
Oh no, my pleasure, dude. Thanks for having me.
And I'm pretty sure we'll do a next run sometime soon.
Bye, everybody.
And a thank you shout out obviously also goes to you. So thank you so much for watching. If you've made it all the way up until this part of the video, I'm pretty sure you enjoyed it. So go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.